Welcome back to Happy Hour Econ, where a comedian and an economist walk into a bar. I'm Lou Perez, the comedian.
I'm Phil Magnus, the economist.
And on this episode of Happy Hour Econ, Phil and I go to the movies. We are the Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert of liberty-minded, drink-fueled economic podcast. But some news in the movie sphere. Apparently, the Mandalorian and Grogu suffered the lowest domestic opening weekend for any live-action Star Wars film in the Disney era. Right now, so many people are in pain after hearing that, but I have to take some responsibility because I didn't go to see it either.
Nor did I.
What kept you away?
I've got other things to do. Going to the movie theater, it takes an exceptional experience to really want to justify that. You know, paying $20 for popcorn and a drink and an overpriced ticket just to see something on a big screen. I'd rather wait to see it come out on streaming service and sit there in the comfort of my living room.
Well, it seems like you are exercising a choice as a consumer.
Indeed.
And there are endless choices we can make in lieu of going to the movie theater. Is there an issue with kind of oversaturation? It just seems like it's everywhere. There are animated series, there are spin-offs, there's, Disney Plus. You can go and you can watch all that stuff. It's just kind of relentless, and it's just, there's so much out there, too much maybe.
You could watch Star Wars 24/7 for the next month and still not see it all.
Yeah.
So it's one of the most storied franchises of history. It goes back all the way to the 1970s and had some really breakthrough. The original three from the first set of the trilogy, those are considered classic movies for a good reason. Now the 1990s, 2000s versions of it has different mixed results on, I know people like to make fun of the prequels. And then there's the Disney era that follows. And the Disney era is, at least for the classic Star Wars fans, it's when a lot of people think it jumped the shark. Couple good products in there, but the last three major films of the main series, the sequels to the original, the plots were bad.
The prequels to the original.
The prequels are bad enough, but then the sequels are even worse. It's kind of it's like a downhill trajectory, but it was still enough of a franchise that had a lot of people. You go see it. But I remember on one of the sequels, I think it was the second sequel, I refer to it as the slow motion woke space chase. It's the one where the engines or something break on the spaceship and they're just kind of drifting for the whole movie. And you're like, wait, this is actually kind of boring. And it was so bad that I decided, I'm just not going to go to the theater to see the final of the series. And I eventually got around to watching it, but it was like on an airplane on a transatlantic flight.
Yeah, I'm one of those weirdos. I might be the only one who saw the prequels before the originals.
Really? So you had a deprived childhood.
I am a unicorn of the worst order. I saw all of them in the theater, and then I saw the originals, and I really love the originals. And as an actual subscriber to Disney Plus, I actually pay. I don't use other people's, passwords and all that. I was looking forward to showing my kids the originals with Luke and Han Solo. And something that I realized is at some point, George Lucas did another cut of his film where he added all of this additional footage that is totally not just unnecessary, but ruins things from a narrative standpoint, and then and also just like scenic work, where I'm watching it and I'm like, wait a minute, I remember this being really good. What is going on here? And I can't track down the originals on streaming services. So you would need to have like a physical copy of the originals in order to watch them.
On a VHS tape.
Yeah. They're oversaturating and they're ruining, canon, but they're also ruining the originals.
They took the old part of the series off of the market and replaced it with this like CGI enhanced extra scene weirdness.
Yeah.
And consumers judged that. I think what the Star Wars franchise arc or the story tells us, especially over the past 20, 25 years, when it's moved into this less than authentic phase. I don't know what we could describe it as, but consumers don't like it. The original market for Star Wars was wrapped up in everything from the authenticity of the original series to some of the kitsch that was attached to it. Kids that grew up on that also bought action figures in the 1980s. They also watched the campy cartoon and Christmas special spin-offs and things like that are, generally of low quality, but compared to the original movies, that was what was sustaining the series. And ever since then, it's been kind of like a march in the direction of the Ewok Christmas special version of Star Wars. It's just saturate the market with everything. And this cuts to an economic concept, and that concept's consumer sovereignty. The consumer is sovereign. The consumer votes with his or her feet to move to or away from a product as a signal of approval. And, this is a fundamental of the business world. If you start ignoring the sovereign consumer signal and just plow ahead and do things anyway, you flood the market with saturation and slop, the consumers go elsewhere. They move to different franchises. Some do what I did after that second of the sequel movies. I decided, I'm not going to see these in theaters anymore. And maybe some other Star Wars release that is absolutely brilliant and great came out after that, but I was already soured on the experience of, I think, film number 7 in the original trilogy series, that I didn't want to see 8. I didn't want to see 9. I didn't want to see any of these spin-off Mandalorians or Han Solo prequel stories or any of these other things that came out. And that means that, I'm not going to go to the movie theater. And you overlay that, it's also happening in an era when streaming is the new innovation in movies. So it's not just the Star Wars franchise at the box office that's taking a hit. It's the box office in general. It's if I wait a couple weeks, I can click a button and purchase this for basically the same price on my home streaming service. But I can pop the popcorn myself for like $1 from a packet from the grocery store versus $20 for a bucket that's coming out of a concession stand.
Yeah, I actually did that math a few weeks back. It was a rainy, dreary day in my neck of the woods, and we were going to go to the local movie theater to see a children's movie, Sheep Detectives, which we haven't seen yet, in part because I started doing the math and I was like, okay, it's going to be me and my 2 kids. We have to buy tickets. They're going to want popcorn. They're going to want candy. And I started adding it up. And then I was like, oh, it's going to be like $80. And then I looked at a movie that we had previously seen, Hoppers. And I looked and it was like, oh, it's like $25, close to $30. But then we own it and we could watch it all the time. And the way my kids are, they watch the same movie all the time. So we traded $30 of movie watching comfort in our living room. We did that instead of going $80 plus because, if we're really getting into the minutia of gas prices and stuff like that. But we made that choice because we are sovereign.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You got to recognize that there are substitutions that occur in this type of a market. One is go to a movie theater, stand in line, pay overpriced popcorn and concessions. But the benefit is you see a really high-tech 40 or 50-foot tall screen with gigantic speakers. Okay, that's part of an experience, and maybe space battles are really good on that. But if the quality of the space battles has diminished, as we see in the Star Wars franchise, and you can get that at home on your regular flat screen TV, a lot of people are choosing the latter. And it's recognizing that, there are niches associated with each of these. One's the comfort at home. The other is the experience of a giant movie screen. And if the experience of the giant movie screen isn't enough in itself to draw people, the margin flips over and most people start choosing, hey, I'm going to stream it at home.
Yeah, and I don't know if I've just gotten older and a little bit more curmudgeon or curmudgeonly, is that how we say it? But there's something about the movie-going experience that I think has just changed over the years. And what I've found is that I have a big problem with other people. So I don't know if it was it Sartre who said, hell is other people? But I just feel like all the pet peeves that I have, you could basically check all the boxes when you go to a movie theater, like people talking during a movie, people talking on their phones during the movie, or people just scrolling on their phones during a movie. It's really tough to be a part of a society where anything goes in a way, and there's really no kind of concern for the time that other people are having around you.
Say that theater etiquette has been in decline in recent decades.
It's like I'm paying a premium to be annoyed.
So you're annoyed by the flip side. Suppose you were the annoying person who sits there and talks on the phone in the entire movie. if you could do that from the comfort of your home, then you don't have everyone around you shushing you and staring at you.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like a win-win. The people that are annoyed by other people, hey, I can do that in the comfort of my home. Or if I have bad theater habits, I can do that in my living room and sit there and shout on my phone while the movie's playing in the background.
Yeah, and it's not only with kind of popular entertainment that people are rude and annoying. But some years back, I went to a dance performance with my wife and a friend of hers, and both my wife and her friend were former dancers. And I got seated kind of by myself. They ended up sitting together, and I was by myself. And during the performance, it's pitch black except for a guy one row ahead of me on his phone. And it's just that
like
one phone is igniting the entire theater. And it got to the point where I actually took my playbill and threw it at him. I want to say that night, Lou Perez was the toughest guy in that theater because he didn't want any part of me. I'm not that tough of a guy in regular life, but occasionally, if there's a dance performance, I might be the alpha there.
Yeah. Toughest guy in the dance show. Yeah,
exactly. Something I wanted to talk about too, like that I noticed, talking about kind of, oversaturation. So one of my favorite movie series is the Toy Story series.
Yep.
They're coming out. Number 5 is coming out. And I tend to agree with Quentin Tarantino on his opinion of Toy Story. Now, a lot of people might be saying, whoa, Quentin Tarantino has a opinion about Toy Story. It's like, yeah, he's a brilliant film director and he knows great stuff when he sees it. And I agree that the first 3 films of Toy Story are flawless.
Yes.
And they could have ended there and we would all be happy. And if there's one movie that I have seen so many times, it's definitely Toy Story. But they did a 4th, and then they have this 5th one coming out. And we hit the 30-year anniversary of Toy Story, and they were playing it back in, I don't know if it was all the AMC theaters, but that's where we saw it, the AMC theater. And I took my kids there, we got there early. We got there before the trailers for the new movies coming out were playing. And before that, this weird thing happened where they were playing commercials on the big screen.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, wait a minute. I'm not in my living room, but I am experiencing commercials being played.
And not just like 30-second commercials, like 10 minutes straight of commercials before they even get to the previews.
Commercial after commercial. And what was so jarring was almost every commercial that played before Toy Story was for a pharmaceutical drug. How to treat depression. It was one after the other being inundated. And I'm looking around, I'm like, everyone here is like a parent with their kids. Right. I don't know if the ad wizards are seeing something in us that we don't see in ourselves, but this should be a really happy time rather than me being, sort of confronted with these pharmaceuticals and all the side effects, which may include, suicidal ideation. It's like, what's going on here?
Right. Watching Toy Story. Maybe they know something. It's like, does your kid suffer from attention deficit disorder? See your doctor today. Side effects may include.
Exactly. Well, I think it really says something about, the economics and the financials of movies in that, there was a time where you wouldn't see a commercial before a movie.
The commercial was the preview for the movie that's coming out in 3 months.
Yeah.
It's very movie-centric. And they still have the previews, but they're after 10 or 20 minutes of this other stuff. So it's interesting. I think part of where that comes from is, there's downtime in between shows when people are filtering out of the theater and then they come and clean back up. And then the new group arrives. Some people get there early because they want to get the best seat and everything. So the natural inclination of a movie theater is, hey, if we got them sitting there holding their seat because they got there 30 minutes early to get the best seat, well, let's start putting things on the screen that they can look at. And what do? Well, it's Joe's used car dealership is running an ad, or the personal injury law firm. So you start getting that, and the ads get more and more and more sophisticated. And next thing you know, you're just basically running full-time commercials for the startup of the movie. And then you start thinking, all right, well, we got everyone in their seat for the full-time commercial because we started bombarding them before the movie officially started. Well, what if we say the start time is at 8:30, but the real start time is at 8:50? And we use that first 20 minutes to do commercials and then previews, and it all blurs together. So it's an attempt of the theaters to capitalize on ad revenue. It's another margin that they can get money coming in, which, kudos to them for seeing that opportunity. But now it's also moved into an area where it's kind of an annoyance because it's ad revenue extracted after the movie starts. And people are saying, well, hey, I can do that at home, or I can pay the extra premium on Hulu and get it without that at home.
What I'm waiting for is an advertisement to pop up for a drug I can take so that I don't mind watching 20 minutes of commercials before the trailers, before Toy Story.
Numb the senses, and then you're suddenly...
Well, it's movie theaters in particular are a business that I've never run a movie theater. I've just experienced it as a consumer. So there's a good chance that what I like and what I want to experience when I'm at a movie theater isn't necessarily going to pay the bills. So people are finding new ways. Like, for example, there's a great chain of movie theaters called Alamo Drafthouse. And what I love about Alamo Drafthouse is it's a big screen. They make it very clear that if you speak during the movie, you will be asked to leave. Right. Yeah. So I believe it's a much more mature movie-going audience, which I love.
Yeah, and they serve beer.
They serve beer. Exactly. They serve beer. They serve food, happy hour econ. It would be great, actually, if we did a happy hour econ at an Alamo Drafthouse.
Here we go.
And they also do a really cool thing where if there's a movie that's playing, they will have a lot of shorter films play before it that are either on theme or will feature one of the characters, and they do like montages and stuff like that. Years back, there was a movie called Logan, obviously about Wolverine, that was playing in the Alamo Drafthouse, and I got the call from a rep there asking if they could play an old sketch comedy video that I had made with my comedy duo Greg and Lou, and the video is called Wolverine's Claws Suck, and you all can check it out right now on YouTube, and it's a viral hit, a sensation that has pleased generations of people who've watched it. And they played it before Logan, so I got to sit there with my beer, with my food, and watch my short video on the big screen before seeing a great movie that I really enjoyed with Logan. I enjoyed it. I loved it. But you know what? There's a good chance that that's not going to work for every movie theater. Sorry, Lou, but you're just one man.
Yeah. They're hitting a niche audience when you do some of these things. Part of it, it's interesting that some of these like specialty theaters are going back to an earlier model of the cinema from like the 1930s and 40s. And this is it predates when people didn't have a TV in their house. So what did you do? You go see Gone with the Wind or something, but before the movie starts, they have newsreels, and these are the film clips of major events happening around the world with a commentator on it. And we still see this. We all recognize the newsreels. These were not broadcast on TV because TV didn't exist at that time. They'd show them before the feature film. You see a little bit of a specialty going back to that, and people seem to like it if it's that rather than being bombarded by diabetes drugs or whatever the pharmaceutical happens to be.
So it seems like we've been in some dark times when it comes to movies and movie-going public. But some good news, I think, on the horizon is with these two low-budget horror films that are beating, franchises like Star Wars. And the two movies are Backrooms and Obsession. And what's really interesting is that Obsession cost $750,000 to make and has earned back, I think it's nearly 200 times its budget. And Backrooms cost around $10 million, so obviously more, but both of them are pretty low budget. And, it's like, oh, are we about to see a rebirth of film?
Yeah, and you see this. This is like an area where creative destruction happens in the film industry. Hollywood's often cast as if it's like this behemoth, and the major studios are essentially that. It's like, how do you go up against a multi-billion-dollar franchise like Star Wars? Well, there's your answer. How do you go up against The Lord of the Rings, or how do you go up against any of these major multi-billion-dollar industry productions? Well, your answer is, low budget, but doing something niche, doing something new that people have not seen before. You're in the industry of keeping people's attention and giving them something to think about, getting them hooked on it. And part of that formula, it doesn't require billions of dollars of CGI. to do it. CGI is one way. High-end productions are one way. And if they really hit and establish a much favored franchise, yes, people will keep coming back to that franchise. But at the same time, there are areas where you can do a low-budget film that explores something new, and it takes off, and it brings in 200 or 300 times as much of its budget and returns and revenue. And, we see this from time to time. Like some of the cult classics of the 1960s have this reputation. Or there was one about 20, 25 years ago called The Room that was this awful low-budget film, and it was so bad it was comedic, and it becomes like this major cultural phenomenon. And I'm sure that the guy that did that has more than made his money back on it in the 25 years that it's been playing and people have been watching the cult classic.
In general, at least with when it comes to obsession and backrooms, people enjoy horror over horrible.
Yes.
So if the choice is there, I get to see well, you did bring up The Room.
It wasn't so bad that it's funny.
Right, exactly.
Unintentionally funny.
As a creator who's been, producing stuff, I think since 2009 is when I started putting stuff on YouTube. One of the things they could chalk up to being able to make something for $750,000 a feature-length film is the tech that we have, which I think has changed things dramatically. It's definitely gotten rid of a lot of gatekeepers when it comes to content creation. But I think something we're sort of seeing now with those examples of obsession and backrooms, they're both directed by directors who built their audiences on YouTube. So in a way, they kind of, the new creator economy is a real competitor and even a talent funnel to what could be, mainstream.
Well, it's because those data centers giving you access to AI, you can do better CGI than existed from a major studio in the 1990s and early 2000s. And you can do that in a matter of minutes. Now, it may have an extra finger on the hand, but there are hallucinations and things that come out of it. But the point is that things you can do on your laptop today are better than the best studios could do 20 or 25 years ago.
With the creators, both of the directors were really popular on YouTube, and that acts as a signal, say, wait a minute, they have an audience here. And if the audience is willing to stay with them for all these years and watch their content over here on YouTube, perhaps we can get that audience to come to watch them in the theater. And of course, there are a lot of people over the years that have failed to make that leap.
Right.
You'll see sometimes where you have like someone who's a popular TikTok artist who can get their fans into a comedy club to watch them perform, but they don't have the chops to do stand-up. Yes. They're able to do the other stuff. But it seems like with these guys in particular, when it comes to being able to direct and tell a story that people want to see, they're nailing it. So I'm hoping that leads to more opportunities for me. Just for me. I don't care if anyone else. I don't care about this rising tide. I hope it just uplifts my boat.
Well, you get those data centers and we can get more AI, CGI to back you up, and then you've got a major feature production.
I'm thinking if anyone out there wants to see Happy Hour Econ produce their own feature-length horror film, it could be so bad it's good, or it could be so great that it's also good. So this is Lou Perez and Phil Magnus, and we'll see you at the movies, which I think we might actually get a cease and desist for using that. We'll see you on the next episode of Happy Hour Econ.